Hello friends, today we are going to moderate a session with the industry experts on future of digital payment technology. Sure. So from gold coins to digital wallets, the way we make payments for any products or services that we consume and the way industry accepts the payments has evolved a lot, right? But there are numerous players now involved. Now this entire process of digital payments has become very, very complex. A lot of banks, a lot of fintech, a lot of startups are actually playing a very critical role in this entire cycle. So I'll start with the very relevant question, which technology, as per you, and I'll ask this to all of you, that has the most significant impact on the current digital payment innovation that has the most significant impact? I'll start with you, maybe Shashank.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kapil. Primarily, there are multiple dimensions to this question, so I'll try to answer one area, and maybe my colleagues will fetch on other. So what I see, the most important aspect right now is on the interoperability. That is where we are struggling. We have payments which has to go through multi-networks and then eventually getting subsidized. Those are adding the cost. There are multiple systems which has to take into considerations while having those payments getting realized. So apparently what I see the most, though it has been started for some time, the aspect of doing the standardization on the messaging formats that are required to do payments. So I believe the initiative of having ISO 222 as a standard message format to be used, not only for the domestic payment, but also for the international payments. So I think that is going to play a crucial role in totality. That will help all the enterprise ecosystems or other payment ecosystems to be more aligned. The cost of the financial institutions to onboard the new payments, payment modes, that becomes reduced. That gets reduced. Reliability increases. For example, in ISO 222, it is the complete life cycle of the payment, starting from initiation till the settlement and everything. So those are the things which has, I believe, in the current form and shape, is helping the ecosystem to be on one level, standardized, eventually reducing the credit or the settlement of the payments nearly on the real-time basis, especially for our cross-border payments. This is also going to help in adding for handling the enrichments that are required for the payment transactions, and eventually these are being addressed through the format and helping in the entire money laundering aspect and the fraud detection. Of course, leveraging other technologies like generative AI along with this standardization. So I think this standard is going to play a crucial role. What I understand that by 2027, almost 75% of these transactions has to go on this particular format, and there is a lot of reduction in terms of the overall time that will be required for the settlements from days till an hour to get settled. So that is going to help. So and so for the global ecosystem, including SWIFT, they have plan of eliminating empty series messages and start going on to the ISO standards. So that, I think, is going to have a huge impact in overall building the efficiency and helping in adding to the composability in the entire financial ecosystem. And of course, as I mentioned, the first thing will be the standardization which comes. So that I think is going to play a crucial role. It has started. Good news is that has already started. And very soon this is going to help and address the issues of domestic as well as cross-border payments. That's my take on this. There are other aspects, but yes.
Thank you, Shashank. Very insightful. And Vikas, what according to you is the most innovative payment technology that has the biggest impact on the industry today?
Well,
Again, a very open question. But
yes, yes, open question, and you combine two very difficult words, innovative as well as the impact. I'll focus more on the impact. And impact-wise, if I were to pick something that I've seen, and it has picked up a lot recently, I don't need to spell it out to you, but instant payments is something which is affecting almost every institution in the ecosystem a lot. So whether it is governments, institutions, it's the people who are using it, everyone is getting impacted by it. It is leading to improved penetration. It is leading to inclusion. For institutions, it is generating a lot of data that can be leveraged for the benefits of the users, for the benefits of institutions. And similarly for the governments, it's leading to effective usage of their capex expenditure that they want to do, effective use of the money that they want to spend on the populace. So this is one. And latching on to the concept that Bhaskar was earlier talking about of different perspectives, if I were to talk on a longer time scale, and a very quick one, because this thought is very dear to my head and I'm just putting it out there for the public to judge, I see a movement from value towards money as another tectonic shift that is happening in the ecosystem. So banks are realizing, for example, banks are realizing that they don't hold just money, but they also hold our trust and the value and the information which they can leverage, and they are looking towards harvesting that. And an interesting anecdote to that, last year in Cybos, there has been a running theme of a talk that they have, future of money. And they replaced it last year with future of value. So, and there are more points, I'll bring them later on, but let's keep it at that. So these are the two things that I see.
Yeah, so banks are not just custodian of money, they are custodian of value, trust, and information. So that is very, very well said. So moving to Ravi, do you want to add anything? What according to you is the most innovative payment innovation?
So I agree with Vikas. I mean, he talked about it's just moving away from the traditional clearing settlement process where it can take days even to settle if you are just started on the weekend. I can talk about my experience from the European market where they are still trying to catch up with what we have in UPI. But if you just, we have seen from our experience in a different market where we have provided an instant funding solution to our client, we can see better funding and better engagement with the client rather than where we are there still on the file based. And in some of the critical scenario where they are using a trading platform like ours, and due to price or market volatility, if they are on the margin call, they need instant funding. Otherwise, they will be stopped out. They can see the value, and then I can, our current project is also implementing SEPA instant funding as well, which is getting mandatory from, at least incoming is getting mandatory from January 2025 in Europe. So yes, and then I can add, and we can talk more about that in detail, but I can add helping, so AI and ML helping us to fight anti-money laundering, fraud detection, as well as the sanction screening.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. So we'll come to the audience for questions, but I have certain questions which I'll continue, and then we'll give it back to the audience to ask any questions to the expert panels here. So as we famously call India story, right? India growth story, which combines mobile, UPI, and Aadhaar card. And so India has seen a tremendous progress, and India is right at the forefront of global financial technology area, right? So what are the key contributors? Definitely standardization, advancement of technology, and how banks are adding value. But what are the key, reasons for the India growth story, and what are the challenges and opportunities that you see along with it? So, anybody, Vikas, you want to answer?
I could take that. It's a story that's very close to my heart, and I followed it very, very diligently. And in the same, some of the nasscom sessions, we've heard Dr. Pramod Verma, who was the chief architect of UPI, mention some very, very good points about it. Talking about what led to its success. And Ravi, you mentioned Europe trying to play a catch-up game with us on instant payments. It's, I think, primarily because of the involvement of institutions and governments at the technical level as well. So in Europe, there are a lot of mandates, but they are expecting private partners to come up with solutions, for example, open banking. And in financial institutions, trust matters a lot. So if you have a central bank or a central institution providing that layer of trust, which NPCI is doing for us, it makes a big change in how other institutions latch on to that. And some of it is mandated, and that's why probably the public has also picked it up very fast. The second technical reason, since we are a tech forum, the second technical reason is the simplicity itself of the UPI as a framework. It is device agnostic, it is currency agnostic, and that's why, for example, we were able to integrate with the Singapore payment system so quickly, because it's currency agnostic. If you go and look at the UPI document, it is just a two-pager. And I was talking to one of my colleagues who was here earlier during the lunchtime. It mentions exchange of value. So UPI in its protocol never says exchange of money. It says exchange of value. It was very smart of them to have it like that. And I foresee, and maybe some others as well, that RBI will later on open it up for exchange of different types of values, which I mentioned in one of my earlier responses. So lot of these things, and we were just at the right time. We were having so many problems to be solved. KYC is another thing which happened because of Aadhaar. Again, UPI. So we built a lot of rails. That's one. Secondly, the great thing that these architects or our institutions did was to not focus on products, but on the rails. They never thought of building features or building a product that would work for everyone. They built the rails, and then the products followed from the private institution contributors, which probably was the smart way to do it, and they somehow managed to just get it exactly right. I'm a big fan of how this all spawned out, and I'm glad that it did that way. If you look at the KYC costs, and some of us are from that era, at 2008, 2009, it was around 1,500 what banks used to quote. So to be able to make that kind of margin for a new customer, you would have to have sold like 1 lakh or 2 lakh worth of goods to take out that 1% margin for KYC. Now that cost is courtesy UPI and others, it's just around 50 to 20 rupees. It's a big game changer in how inclusion works and what kind of products can you latch on to this whole rail. So I think we did great, and the timing was great for the country. It solved exactly the problems that we wanted them to solve, and they got solved in a very right.
Perfect.
And I just want to add the point where he mentioned about the API and a simple form and API. So that becomes the first prominent leveraging factor for the integration. And we being in a new era of disruption of artificial intelligence, and somebody also in the previous panel discussion mentioning about the agentic AI. I think having that kind of an open infrastructure and open interactions, they're going to create a multiple, I'll use the word features, which are going to further strengthen the entire payment ecosystem as such, and moving to the, moving the money on the real-time basis. So that becomes like more towards the direction of autonomous payments. So I think that kind of the groundwork, the foundational work, which thankfully we have in our country, is going to play a great role. Eventually, this infrastructure is being also used for doing cross-border payments in certain cases. Of course, we right now are open for the, the inward remittance, even through the UPI in certain countries across the world. And of course, the merchant payments are anyway possible. So I think the openness in the infrastructure and the word which is the public digital infrastructure for ourselves in the country, that's a game changer. Leveraging and leaving a lot of other opportunities, a lot of other avenues getting realized much faster, especially in India domain, as I see in the Western domain or even the Southeast Asian market. That's my take at it.
Thank you. Very, very helpful, very, very insightful. Now switching gears a bit, talking about banks, since you represent a bank. So how do you see traditional banks adopting to the rapid pace of digital transformation in payments and card technology? Are there any specific strategies or innovations that are critical for their survival? Because now it's a question of survival.
Yes. I started, so traditional bank involved, like I will take you the example of how SEPA Classic work. It's a FTP file transfer where you get a batch of transaction which you process at a regular interval. If you miss that batch, then maybe in the weekend you will get credited your money on the Monday. So moving from that to something called instant funding is something is a viability and business critical aspect for any banking. And for us, as I mentioned, the market we provide our services to, where we have not provided instant funding, we can see that it's lagging behind all the funding metrics. And the technology which is coming into the picture to enable those is, of course, API based. We have seen our success in UPI, but that's the same. We're still not able to have a standard API which can work across the, European Union coming up with their own instant funding API. We have our own UPI. But that's something which we are now moving towards file-based. Of course, we have a SWIFT, but that's also a costly. And then in this world of, we can talk more about that in our cross-border, where it's whole financial market is getting conservative. We have seen Ukraine-Russia war, and then entity getting sanctioned, and who you can move money from. So coming back to the API, and then I can see a cloud computing also playing a major role here, because once you're providing instant funding, then you have to be also sure that you should be able to take up the load. You should be 24/7 available. And that's where cloud and cloud computing can help us. And then third, I can think of AI ML. Mentioned before, like cross-border payment has different regulatory requirement where you have to scan all the payment for the AML fraud or sanction screening. And the traditional rule-based methods are like, they give you lots of positive false. So our whole operation department just scan maybe 100 alerts, which they are all valid. So I can see, and then we can talk more about that in different section, where AML AI from Google, and there is this study from HSBC, how they have implemented and they have benefited from it. And last and not least, our blockchain and distributed ledger. Not for the instant funding, but then again, in the wake of sanction and all, central bank are coming with the concept of CBDC, and there, or crypto, where blockchain is a technology solution to provide a reliable and transparent way to record your transaction.
Perfect. You touched upon all the questions I had. So from blockchain
we can talk
to
more
AI,
that into details later.
Generative AI. So my next set of questions is again on that area, as I was about to touch that. So you also mentioned AI. I don't think there is any discussion since morning which does not have the word AI, right? So that is how AI has got embedded into our lives. So the next question is, what are the long-term implications of AI, Gen AI, and machine learning? Sorry. Really? Can you hear me, guys? At the end? Perfect. Thank you. So I don't think we can complete a conversation without using the word AI nowadays. So my question is, what are the long-term implications of AI and Gen AI and machine learning, especially in the payments, especially regarding maybe predictive analytics and fraud detection, and maybe many more use cases. So I will go one by one. I think all of you have some points on this. So you want to start, Shashank?
Yeah, thanks. A very important and prominent aspect for us to be ready for the future goes without saying, and as you rightly mentioned, if somebody has not heard about Gen AI, then it's something which is something wrong somewhere. And it's not been discussed in the forums primarily. So I think it is, to my understanding, to my knowledge base, and to what I have seen so far, we are still in the, I'll use the word evolution phase. We are yet to reach where we have to yet to reach, utilizing the artificial intelligence. So we have seen, 1.5 years or roughly now 2 years back about the OpenAI coming up with the chat GPT and all, primarily focusing on the prompt-based responses, right? And so far so good, it's good. I mean, the use cases which are we looking as a users or institutes, those may not be sufficiently handled from that way of interaction with the large language model. Primarily, I'm talking in the Gen AI side. Of course, there is a lot of work happening on the artificial intelligence space in other aspects as well. So, and that is where there has been a shift from, just maybe, I don't know if somebody has heard about that. We've been doing Google, usually, doing a Google with the 3 words was something which we used to be very fond of. But now I think the story has changed. So now the research says that people are looking for at least 11 to 12 words for the Google search to give us a better response. So what it means that, and primarily Google is not able to give that kind of responses that we are expecting, because when we say 11 or 12 words, it's all about we want some problem statement to be answered from the Google or the, the AI world. And that is where this, and that do require kind of breaking that problem statement and planning that and reflecting on that problem statement, and then looking for the various sources, not only the LLM models that we know, from various other enterprise sources, and eventually having multiple agents to do that work in parallel. And that's where the agentic AI comes into the play. And I see this becomes one of the first foundational block where the complete payment, of course, it is applicable to a lot of other business areas, but I think in the payment space, this is going to make a revolution. For example, there are payments being done and there is some kind of repair needs to be done for the payments. So instead of doing as a manual work or instructing some workflow to do that in an automatic way, I think the word is autonomous is more important that. So the system has to detect itself those repairs and sense that what are the actions needs to be taken and make a repair effect, and then of course submitting the the transactions. So this is one example, and so AI, generative AI, and in particular agentic AI, working in this way, able to address such concerns, is going to make a large impact all over. And I think that's going to be a transformational change. Of course, this also lead us to the way where the fraud detection itself becomes more sophisticated than probably, the way we have been doing so far may not be able to sustain those agentic AI frauds, because the fraudulence will also be more tech-oriented, and they are 2 steps ahead. So I think the aspect of improving the efficiencies, improving the security aspect, which is anomaly detection or fraud detection of a payment transaction, and eventually leading for kind of atomic settlements going forward. Of course, other technologies are required for that purpose, but these are the things which are going to have a huge impact because what the customers are looking at is, I think, it's the cost which has to go down for the payment transaction, especially when it is international, for the corporate customers. And the efficiency has to go up, wherein it has to get settled not in days, it should be in hours or minutes, something like that. And eventually, taking the word as a value, delivering that value, because the customer has to feel secure of using these technologies. So I think that's how this is going to unfold. And thank God we are in that phase of life where we are able to visualize and we are experiencing and we are contributing to this space. I think this is going to make a huge impact. Thanks.
Thank you. In interest of time, I'll just take one more. Anybody wants to add to this? This one.
So I'll not repeat what he said, all valid points, fraud, security, etc., definitely getting impacted. I can just add one point to this probably. If you look at the ratio of asset classes of banks, how they are emerging. So I've looked recently at SBI figures. So I think 4 years back, it was 60% corporate, 40% retail. It's changing more to the reverse. Last year, I think they did 60% retail and 40%, which is probably, in my opinion, a result of better data mining, because now they are able to deliver loans. Earlier, it used to be very easy to write a 100, 200 crore paycheck to a corporate versus giving out in retail loans. But technology is going to enable that more and more. So AI is really going to help you identify customers, identify risks better, and do better data mining. That is one change I definitely see. And I think banks should be ready with their data to be able to provide better data sets to their engines or whatever they use, so that they are able to leverage it in the best way.
Super. I think, yeah. So you are discussing that it touches people's lives, not just the payment. I think detecting the right set of people to which loans should be given, amount of loans, those kind of things. So that definitely is a great use case for AI. Coming to my last question, I know I have 2 minutes, 42 seconds left, but I still want to have the last question. If businesses are just starting their journey in adopting new payment technologies, what is one area they should prioritize over the next 1 year to remain competitive? They're just starting. So it's a trick question maybe, but anybody wants to answer?
I can just add that they have to be fulfilling their regulatory and compliance requirement. I mean, that's something which is, and you can see in the India and as well as in outside world. So we have to be compliant on all the local regulation where we are working. You want to add?
I think if I were going to start a business or were running a business right now and looking at what's happening around the world, I would focus a lot on culture. A lot of things are coming out which are going to directly impact jobs, and people have to look up to things which they think will replace them in the future. And if you look at the history of this of the corporates, I mean the recent one, we haven't done a great job of identifying the changes that are about to come. And this same lot has to figure out what to do with these upcoming changes. So probably getting ready for the kind of things that are going to come fast at us, being able to go down a level deeper and see what the actual strengths are and leverage them again with using this technology. So I think that would play a very key role in how organizations tackle the emergence of AI and other things.
This is amazing. From a person who is running a bank, who talks about compliance as the #1 priority, to a person who has done startups, he talks about culture. And I have 45 seconds. Can you answer?
So I think I see that the change as perish statement is quite relevant, as you rightly said. So probably the experimentation with the pilot projects which are happening. So we should not lose focus on that, because these are some alternate mechanism like the CBDC and the blockchain aspect. These are some alternate mechanism which are getting into the phase, and probably the financial institutions has to keep looking into those aspects. Of course, the business as usual has to go, but the experimentation and the piloting, all those aspects, because that will give a lot of learning, because that's what AI has given to the banking industry, because AI has been the banking industry has been the early adopter of ML and AI, and that's what the benefit they are reaping now. So that experimentation has to continue. Thanks.
Perfect. So continuous experimentation, building the culture, ready for change, making sure there is compliance. I think that's the answer for my last question. Audience, do you have any questions? I know the time is up, and I can see it on red, but any last question? Yeah, we have this person here. Can you pass on the mic?
Can I ask first? I just got the mic.
Yes.
Hi, sir. My name is Rohit Rai Saxena. I'm from HCL Tech. Very interesting session on the future of payments technology.
Can you put the mic a little closer?
Am I audible to you now?
Yes, now it's perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you. So my question to you is, with the rise of fintech startups coming up, right? Airtel brought in Airtel Payments. Globally, Saudi Telecom bought in Saudi Telecom Pay, even acquiring a banking license. A lot of new banks coming into the picture. Almost every quarter we see a new bank coming up. How do you see traditional banks surviving? Number one. You mentioned some very interesting points on with respect to how they are evolving with their legacy programs coming into the new age, focusing on customer experience. This challenge I see in India is acceptance. So do you have any thoughts on that? How do traditional banks compete? Because these are resource heavy but not tech heavy companies. How do they compete with these new age fintechs?
I'll just state one point, I think here, primarily we have to do for end customer, and eventually the banking ecosystem is also going for the word is banking as a service. So it's the composable banking as an architecture. That's where the most prevalent aspect is going to come. So we need to get, stay relevant in the market and leveraging what is available. So and so forth. For example, what I understand, there are banks in US who are leveraging the fintechs for their cross-border payment to make it more faster and less costly. So I think it has to go in hand to what an extent. And I think,
Got it.
yeah, sorry?
Collaboration, in a collaboration way.
Yeah. So that is what I think is going to happen. Thanks.
But there is acceptance with the traditional bank incorporating such changes?
I think so, because as I said, there has to be an experimentation in the play. We cannot leave around. The economy is open, ecosystem is open, so you cannot, say that, okay, I will not do that. It has to be. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.